it would be the best nail polish color for the summer. All right. Can you see how it still is very, very soft peak? All right. I'm okay with that. I do not want a stiff meringue. Reason is, when you go to incorporate a very stiff meringue into this mixture, it's going to break down a lot faster than if your meringue is soft and you can work it a little bit easier, okay? So, get all of that excess off. It's like Barbie pink. Love it. Thank you. All right, so now that my meringue is ready, and it's fairly warm, okay? You don't want to cool this down completely. You still want it nice and warm, more like a fever, okay? So if you think about how that feels. Scoot this off to the side here. Now it's time to get dirty. Now the gloves go on, okay? All right, so what we need to do is mix our egg white and our TPT mixture together. I don't like to mix this before my meringue is done, because what will happen is that, if you remember, TPT is confectionery sugar and almond flour. And what happens is that confectionery sugar really starts to grab all the moisture in your egg white, and this TPT starts to solidify, okay? We're gonna make it into a paste, but then it starts to kind of get rock hard and you can't mix in that meringue very well, okay? So always wait until the end. This is a very small batch compared to what we normally do, but as I like to tell people, if you are accidentally missing your gym, you know, you haven't gone in about 3 months, even though you have that gym membership, just make a couple batches of macarons and you're fine, because you get a full body workout. You'll see, the arms, the abs, your back, your mouth, your stomach, yes. It's a great time. And you know, if you're not sweating at the end, if your face isn't bright red, you're not doing it right. That's how you got to think about it. I remember the first time I demoed macarons. Oh my goodness. Trying to figure out how to speak and mix at the same time was not so easy. I was like out of breath. Now, you know, after hundreds and hundreds of batches, it gets much easier. And you can, if you want to skip this step as far as getting a muscle workout, you can put this in the mixer and bring it together, no problem, just with the paddle attachment, okay? And as you can see, all I want to do is bring it together to a nice paste where I don't see any of that TPT in there. Can you see? I still have some at the bottom, so work it all the way through. And it almost looks like a dough, okay? Almost like a pie dough or a cookie dough. That's what you want. All right, feel good so far? We're on our way, okay? So the next thing we're going to do, about 1/3 of the meringue into your paste, into your TPT mixture. So the rule of thumb with meringue is that you always want to be very gentle with it, right? You don't want to deflate it, you want to keep it nice and aerated. Well, we're going to kind of break those rules a little bit today, okay? So first what we're going to do is kind of mash these two together, kind of an aggressive fold, because you can see how that paste wants to stay together in a ball, right? It's not cooperating very well. So you really have to make it work for you. As we always tell the students in the classroom, you are the boss. This is not the boss. This does not dictate what happens. You are in charge. So you'll see as you're mixing, and I don't know if you can see it very well, but do you see the little spots of kind of beige popping through within the pink? So I know my TPT mixture is not fully incorporated to my meringue. So what I want to do is just mix those two until everything is pink. Everything's Barbie pink, okay? Almost there. And right now, when your arm wants to fall off, you're only halfway done. Okay. So you work very hard at this stage of the game to get the TPT incorporated to the meringue, because once you add on the rest of the meringue, Now we're a little bit more gentle, okay? So if you don't do it all right now, you kind of miss out on your opportunity. So in with the rest of the meringue. Okay. Thank you. Can you see before I start mixing the two color differences? Okay, so the next step is you want to make sure these two colors become one, all right? So it's very easy to see if you have accomplished your folding well. So now we just gently fold. Bring those two together. And always when I fold, I spin the bowl. My right hand is always the same motion. It never changes. And my left hand is one that is moving. Almost there. Macarons are certainly a labor of love, but when you eat them, you'll understand why, okay? So what I want you to notice is, you see how thick my batter is? It's not flowing, okay? It wants to kind of fall in clumps. So my goal right here is to have my batter to flow beautifully into a V shape, okay? Not runny like a water faucet, but just flowing nicely. So this is when we get to beat the living daylights out of it, okay? Or as the French would say, to macaronade, which is to kind of beat back and forth. So I take all my batter down into the corner, and then you're gonna hold the spatula like you're very angry and just back and forth. You're gonna beat it, okay? So go about 20 times. Oh, he's very excited. 20 times. And then we're gonna take and we're gonna fold. And then we're gentle, okay? Can you see how it's starting to flow a little bit better now? All right, just wants to go a little bit more. So now what we're going to do is beat it again, back and forth. If you look at any pastry chef, if you look at their forearms, they will always have one bigger and one smaller. For reasons like this, you know? I worked with a chef who, he was a triathlete as well, so he was in very good condition. And his right forearm was, you know, Popeye, like very oddly defined, almost cartoon-like. That's what his forearm looked like. It was terrifying, but okay, almost there? Almost. And one more time. The goal is not to have the macaron batter all over the table or all over you, okay? That's your goal. Doesn't always happen, but it's your goal. All right, so let's check this. Now we're in business. You see that difference? Okay, just about 30 times back and forth. Now we have a batter that's runny, okay, and flowing, but not so liquidy that when I pipe, it won't hold its shape. So that's why it's very important. You always want to stop. It would be really easy for me just to beat it back and forth and beat the living daylights out of it. But what happens is I would take it too far. And if I take this batter on the thinner or runnier side, it will never hold its shape as I go to pipe, okay? So, thank you. What I have here is just a piping bag with a round tip. It's about 11 millimeters in size. So if you've ever seen a beautiful pastry shop that almost looks more like a jewelry store, right? The way that they display their pastries. Macarons tend to be sold in individual size, okay? Just 1 or 2 bites, depends how big your mouth is. But then they also sell in a size that you can share. It's about 4 inches around, or it's just a nice dessert for you. It kind of depends your mood for that day. So you can pipe them in either size that you want, okay? This is a little more of the traditional. So in with some of my batter. Now, when you make this batter, it's not a batter that you want to make and let sit while you go talk on the phone, you go for a run, you go walk your dog. You literally need to make the batter, pipe it, and get it baking, okay? Because what happens is this beautiful egg white and all of that sugar that's in there will start to crust over the top, and it will start to dry out, and you will never have that hydration again, okay? So you have to be committed. Once you start, no stopping. All right, so for piping. For this individual size, you're gonna pipe about 3 centimeters, okay? Can we all think in centimeters for a second, maybe? No, not so much. How about a quarter? Does that work? So you're gonna pipe just a nice quarter dollop. Now, what you're going to see as I'm piping, do you see that little line, kind of the end of the piping mark? As I cut off, that little tail that's on the top. The way you know that your batter is the right consistency is if that little tail, by the time you get to the end of the row, or about 15 seconds later, that tail starts to go away, and it just dissolves and falls right back into that batter, okay? So I think I did my job well today, maybe. So we're gonna pipe quarter-size bulbs. And always when you pipe and you're going to bake something, you wanna stagger the rows so that you have a beautiful airflow that goes in between and bakes very evenly, okay? I'm a little bit on the shorter side of life, 5'3" on a really good day, depends. So for me, if I pipe all the way at the end of the sheet tray, my back would be just about kaput in about 5 years. So pipe closer to you, embrace the fact that you're pint-sized, it's okay. Can you see how that first row, all those little tails went away? Might be a little bit hard to see, but all those little tails go away. Okay? Now, this size batch, if you were going to make it, I would get about 75 cookies filled out of this batch. So for a little bit of sweat and a lot of love, you get a big return, all right? Thank you. This batter, now there's a lot of superstition that goes into making macarons, and I think that's why I adore it so much, is because some chefs will wear the same pair of socks when they make macarons. Some chefs will use the same piping tip. Some will only make them on a certain day at a certain hour, whatever it may be. I won't tell you what my superstitions are when I make them, but every chef has a different marcation of how long they will let their macarons